a high probability, that I'll never be poor again in my life, never work a 9 to 5, and it's because of the three things I'm going to show you behind me. As you can see, I've already showed you kind of parts of them. But instead of being that annoying YouTuber that's like, wait until the end, until the most important one, I'll show you the most important one first. I'll show you how to develop it. I'll show you how to make sure that you can develop the right skill sets, the right mindsets, the right things to make sure that you never end up poor in your life. I'm going to make it hard for you not to make money. Inshallah, by the end of this video, you'll know the exact strategies I've used so that inshallah, I don't have to work a 9 to 5 ever in my life, be able to make 6 figures online, online, offline. It works either ways. But most importantly, for you to understand why these things are important so you can have the life of freedom that you're looking for. So let's jump right in, right? Number one is the skills that you develop. So the reason skills are so important is not just because that they've helped me make a lot of money, but because this is what differentiates you from most people. And you actually get to keep your skills. Let's just say, Allahu Alam, if this ever happened, let's just say the government takes away everything that you have. For whatever reason, there's a revolution in your country and the government takes everything you've ever had. Well, guess what? You'll still have your skills. Of course, you'll still have your knowledge. Maybe you'll still have your connections unless they get killed, but you still have your skills, right? And with your skills, you can help other people. Skills are literally an extension of you. So by you having loads of skills, you can basically extend yourself further. You can help more people. You can do more things in general. It literally extends you. And skills, I can maybe think of 3 examples of like the best skills I've developed in terms of making money, which is sales, communication / content creation a little bit, I guess. And then lastly, it's appointment setting, being able to set appointments for myself, be able to book meetings for me, for businesses, for like my clients, whatever it would be. So for me, sales is probably the most important skill to ever develop in life because everything in life is sales. So instead of looking at these skills as something that you have to develop and putting them on a pedestal and being like, if I want to make money, I've got to have these skills, look at them as part of your life and look at them as an extension of you. Skills, luckily, get developed with practice. So most of the time, you don't have to pay for a course. You don't have to do anything most of the time, right? You can just develop it with practice. Of course, courses will give you the knowledge on how to practice it and other things, but you can just develop it with practice. With sales, for example, the best thing you can do at the start is just try and sell an idea to somebody. Like maybe you have an idea you want to share with your mum. Try and sell her that idea, especially if it's an idea that she's not 100% convinced with. Try and sell the idea of going to a certain restaurant to your friendship group. Try and sell as many things as you can, whether that be ideas, whether it be like, let's just say ideas, it could be venues, it could be things you want people to do, like convince them to take certain actions, whatever it would be, sell them things. And the reason I put skills as number one as well is because in terms of creating a business, you can create an entire business around your skills. And this is where done-for-you services come in, because done-for-you services are actually at the top of the pyramid. Right? I generally recommend everybody who's ever going to start making money to start at the top of the pyramid, not at the bottom of the pyramid, because at the bottom of the pyramid, it's harder, one, to sell, and two, although it's easier to scale, it's harder for you to make millions of dollars very quickly because you don't have anything. Like you don't start at the bottom, you try and start at the top of the pyramid. At the top of the pyramid is done for you. And with done for you, you can charge a lot more money. You can end up making a lot more money by simply having better skills and charging better clients, right? Making more money from richer people, etc., etc. Being at the top of the pyramid gives you leverage that when you go down the pyramid, which we'll talk about later in terms of done with you and done for you, like coaching and courses. But basically, with the skills, you can make a service. With a skill, you can make yourself the product. When you make yourself the product, you can demand any price you want because it's you. There is only one you in the entire marketplace. There might be people with similar skills, but there is one you. You are never a commodity because there, again, it's just one you. Doesn't matter how many people offer the same service as you. Doesn't matter how many people do the same thing as you. There's only one you, which is why, like I said, skills being an extension of you is so important because the more you develop certain skills, the more you improve those skills, the more you improve, for example, your done for you services, the more you become sought after, the more the business becomes about you. Generally, it becomes just about you and what you're able to deliver people. And I generally believe that if you want to make money very, very quickly, you just leverage your skills. That's it. Like you just develop a skill, then you sell it to people who have the money to buy it from you, and you deliver, and you keep improving it again and again and again. David Ogilvy in what's it called? The advertising book he has. I can't remember what it's called now. Well, it's called On Advertising by David Ogilvy. But the point is that he mentions the fact that when he created his ad agency, when he created his advertising agency, the most thing he looked for was people with high skill who'd already practiced copywriting. He looked for people who wanted and loved copywriting. He always looked for the skills. He didn't look for people's knowledge necessarily because that could always be created or like gained very easily, but skills take some time. So the number one thing you can do to make sure you never end up poor in your life and you never end up working a 9 to 5 again, if you already worked one, is to develop skills that the market wants. Look at what people need and develop your skills around that. Because if you develop a useless skill that AI could just replace, for example, one day, then you're going to be a commodity because people will just be like, well, dude, why would I hire you when I can just get AI to do it, right? And what those skills will be, well, I personally think sales is always going to be the number one skill for you to develop and for anyone to develop, right? So sales would probably be number one. Number two would be whatever you want to do, like your interest. Generally, if you could be skilled at the things you are interested in, then you're going to be chilling. Because no matter what you do, whether it's chess, whether it's playing the piano, whether it's like whatever it is, if you're good at it, you can probably make money in some way, generally. So this leads us to number two, which is while you're developing the skills, you're probably going to gain a bit of knowledge. There's this principle that Alex Hormozy told me, which is that oftentimes the way you can charge better prices is by having a bigger gap of knowledge between you and your potential customers. And what that means is if you know the secrets to making 10K per month, for example, or making 100K per month, or making $1 million per month, and the people you're talking to don't know how to make 10K per month, they don't know how to make 100K per month, they don't know how to make $1 million a month, then you can leverage that. Sell them something that will help them understand that thing. Bridge the gap of knowledge. And most of the time, the reason you can sell your skills for so high is one, because the other person doesn't have the skill, and two, because for them to gain that skill, they have to have certain knowledge. And they don't have that knowledge. And because that knowledge is missing, there's a gap in the market where you get to pick the price for bridging that gap, which is fantastic. It's generally like the more knowledge you have, the more knowledge you have on certain very specific things, which is kind of key. Like on sales, for example, it's a specific thing to have knowledge on. The more specific knowledge you have, the more you'll be able to leverage that knowledge for actual power. Applied knowledge, so I'm going to write that here. I'm going to write a big A. Applied knowledge is what Napoleon Hill calls true power. General knowledge is useless. Like if you know something about geography, but you don't use geography in your life and you don't speak to anyone about geography, then it's useless knowledge. It's giving you no power. When you apply knowledge into your skills, for example, then you have created yourself a power gap. And in this power gap, like I said, you can charge more. You can charge exactly what you want from the marketplace. And especially that if your, let's say, customer doesn't know how to write copy, they don't know how to run ads, but you know how to run ads, not only is there a skill gap, but there's also a knowledge gap. And you get to say, look, you don't know how to do this thing. That's why you are paying me to do this. Fundamentally, because people don't understand how something is made, or they don't know how to make it themselves, they don't know how to do it themselves. That's why you can make money. Because not everybody has the same knowledge. Not everybody has the same skills. And this gap in the market should be exploited. And I don't say exploited in terms of like abused and try and take everyone's money or whatever it would be. I'm saying like utilize the gap in the market. The fact that you have taken the time to develop your skills and develop your knowledge is something you should be proud of and charging a lot of money for. Don't be shy to charge money. Even if you're not like amazing at the skill, even if you're not an absolute expert, you know more than others. And therefore, leading to the last point, done with you and do it yourself. Done with you is like coaching, consulting and stuff like that. And then do it yourself is usually courses. So with done with you and do it yourself, the reason they are harder to sell is because there's more effort that the other person has to put in. But there will always be markets where some random teenager that's never made 10K per month in his life can sell and be like, oh, I've made 10K per month. Let me show you how to do it as well. The reason he can sell that is because there is a gap of knowledge. He knows something that other people don't. He hasn't done it himself. Like he doesn't have the skills to make 10K per month yet. He doesn't have the skills to do it, but he's got the knowledge. That's why I put skills as number one. Skills are undeniable. I have the knowledge to make 100K per month, by the way. I haven't made it. I've made 15K, 20K almost, but not 100K. Right now, I'm trying to develop the skills that are able to make me 100K per month with me and my business partner. So that's what we're developing right now. That's what we're working on. But we have the knowledge. We know what we need to do. So this is why anybody can just sell a random course. Even if they're an absolute retard who's 15 years old and never has spoken to a woman, and they'll be like, how to get married in a halal way, after watching 5 red pill videos or whatever it would be. You get what I'm saying, right? Anybody can do a done with you coaching. Anyone can do a do it yourself, but not everybody could do a done for you. Not everybody could do this. This is why this, in my opinion, will never be a commodity. This is why I think every beginner should begin. Generally, every beginner should develop a skill that the marketplace finds valuable, that the marketplace doesn't know how to do, and therefore sell that skill. Now, last but not least, this is the one I'm weakest in my opinion. I don't think it matters as much as the other two, but having the right connections is definitely helpful. I can assume if I was to go completely broke right now, I'd have 1 or 2 people in my network that would offer me an opportunity to make the money back again. Without having to work for them directly, without having to go to get a 9 to 5, I have somebody in my network who is willing to help me in this situation, get me back on my feet by maybe giving me a position in their company, by helping me with some certain knowledge that I'm missing, maybe help me develop certain skills that I'm missing. But connections your network, going to help you have a new boundary of failure, if you will. Now, even if you fall off from the top, that's you falling, right? Even if you fall off from the top, you have a way to bounce back up from a trampoline. Okay. So these three things are incredibly important. I'll tell you very quickly how I've tried to develop my skills and my knowledge, most importantly, because connections kind of come naturally for me. But in terms of my skills and my knowledge, how have I developed them? Well, in terms of the skills, I put practice here because that's the number one thing I'll always do. Practice the skill in any situation possible. I gave you the example of sales. I remember speaking to a brother, he was like, Fedi, I'm just not very confident at selling. I don't think I'm a good communicator. I was like, Akhi, how often do you communicate? How often do you speak to people? How often do you sell? Well, never. So there you go. That's probably why you've never practiced the skill. So instead of thinking to yourself, Fedi, I'm not very skilled at this, I'm not very good at it, have you done 10,000 hours of practice? If you haven't done 10,000 hours of practice, it's okay. If you've done 10,000 hours and you're still bad, there's maybe an issue with the way you practiced it. But in general, do 10,000 hours of something, you'll generally become an expert. In general, you'll become an expert. And in terms of knowledge, the best tip I can give in terms of knowledge is learn and apply. Like if you want to know how something works, that's what true knowledge is. It's not just having an understanding of something, but being able to explain it and being able to apply it, right? Applied knowledge being true power. Then I would learn something new and apply it. All my books, I usually think of an action step and take that action step. So whenever I read a book, I'm like, okay, cool. How can I make this into an action step? Okay, I'll do this. Okay, I'll do that. And therefore my knowledge gets increased. So to be honest with you, practice and application of knowledge is probably the best ways I would develop those two. But inshallah, you found this video useful. If you want to develop the skills, by the way, of selling, as I was speaking about earlier, and maybe doing a done-for-you business model that you'll actually love and is actually halal, then feel free to join my free school community. Link in the description. Inshallah, I'll see you in there. But regardless, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and take care of yourself.